What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV. Quick preview of the game tomorrow, Arsenal against Crystal Palace in the Premier League. Whew, this was the game last season where it all went downhill for Unai Emery. We turned up, I think it was Super Sunday as well last year. We turned up with Jenkinson at right back, who got tore apart by Zaha. We had, I think, El Neni in the middle of the park with Guendouzi. You know, that midfield combination was a nightmare. And we ended up losing the game. Mustafi made that famous mistake that he made against Zaha. And it all went downhill from here. I think Emery underestimated them a little bit. He can't do that this year. They've had a good start to the season. I think apart from that beating they got against Tottenham, they've been pretty steady. And what is this game going to be? You know, it's like the battle of Pepe and Zaha. You know, the winger we could have signed against the winger we did sign. Ivory Coast teammates. I'll be honest with you, at the start of the season I wanted Zaha. That's not because I didn't rate Pepe, that's just because I felt like I knew what we were getting with Zaha. With Pepe, I felt like I wasn't sure. You know, there's a lot of players who've come from the French league who've done well, equally a lot of good players from there who've struggled. I'm really hoping the 2 goals that Pepe got the other night get him going now. People were going crazy about them goals, and rightly so. You know, brilliant free kicks. We've got to support him as a fan base and help him to get where we hope he gets to. But also, he has to produce this now against Premier League teams. There's no point doing that on a Thursday night, and then you can't do it in the Premier League at the weekend. He has to play well in the Premier League. So it'll be interesting how he gets on. The team I would start with, Leno in goal, that's a given. At right back, I would still probably go with Callum Chambers. I'm still not totally convinced that Bellerin is sharp enough yet. So I'd stick with Chambers. In defence, I would go with Socrates and Luiz. I don't think long term that's the centre-back partnership we should be playing, but at the moment it's probably the best we've got. Tierney has to start for me at left back. Forget Kolasinac now, he's back up. We can use him in the Europa League and that, but Tierney, I hope, gets his debut in the Premier League. In midfield, I would love to see Torreira, Guendouzi and Ceballos. That's what I would go with personally. I think Torreira in that defensive midfield role, Ceballos as the playmaker, and Guendouzi as the box-to-box player. And then the front three, I thought Lacazette had a poor game the other night. Depending on how fit he is, if he's not fully fit, I would consider giving Martinelli a start. But I actually think, I don't know what anyone else thinks, Unai Emery says that Martinelli is a winger. To me, he looks like a striker. I actually like him playing through the middle. He's very direct, very quick. But I'd like to see maybe Martinelli, Aubameyang and Pepe as the front three. If Lacazette is fit and, you know, he's better after that game, then go with Aubameyang, Lacazette and Pepe. It's going to be a tough game. Palace are so good on the counter-attack. They can soak up pressure. They've got a lot of real Premier League players with a lot of know-how and experience. People like Scott Dan, James McArthur, Tonkins, who else have they got? Zaha, Benteke, Townsend. All these guys, they've got so much know-how in the Premier League. They'll always be difficult to beat. But if we play well, we can beat Palace. They concede goals. And, you know, we need to put in a good performance. I don't think we've played well enough in the Premier League this season. We want to see creativity. We want to see attacking play. Play on the front foot. Don't be scared of Palace. Be aware of their danger, but take the game to them and dominate and win the game. Mesut Ozil, will he be involved tomorrow? I think if Ozil isn't even on the bench tomorrow, then I think the club have decided they're done with him. But Emery, as I've said before, every game Emery leaves Ozil out and we don't create chances, the fans are really going to give him a hard time. I'm not overly disappointed that Ozil isn't involved. If the club have decided to move on from him, then stick by it. That's my issue. Don't keep changing your mind. One week you're saying he's training well, the next week he's not. Either play him or don't. Don't get caught in between. But the most important thing is Arsenal and us winning the game, an opportunity to get back into the top 4. And when you look at that Leicester performance yesterday, I know Southampton were poor, but to beat anyone in the Premier League 9-0 away from home, you know, we've struggled at Southampton before. That shows how well Leicester are playing, and Brendan Rodgers doing a great job. I'm not going to say, would you take Rodgers at Arsenal, but would you take Rodgers at Arsenal, Rodgers, Mourinho, all being linked at the moment with the Arsenal job. And I tell you what, if Arsenal were to lose this game against Palace, I think the fan base would go crazy. But listen, let's forget about that. I've said quite openly, people like Mourinho and that I would take. And he was at the game the other night, which was interesting, sitting with Ralstonelli. But I am in support of Unai Emery because I believe stability is key in the Premier League. If we can rebuild, find a playing style, maybe things will start clicking now the fullbacks are back and everyone's fit. So I'm backing Unai Emery, but if the style of play continues, then maybe we look elsewhere. But the most important thing is we get 3 points against Palace on Sunday. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what team you would start against Palace. If Unai Emery was to go, would you take Rodgers? Would you take Mourinho? Or would you go for someone else? Maybe Ljungberg or the guy at Ajax. Let me know. Look out for the show every week. Talk is cheap on AFTV, out every Thursday. And I'll see you next time. Bless.